The last vessel of the Global Sumud Flotilla has been seized by Israeli commandos. In Argentina, evidence was published regarding a bank transfer linking Congressman José Luis Espert to money from drug trafficking. And Ecuador heads into the 12th day of the general strike after the Confederation of Indigenous Nationalities decided to continue with the protest and all its demands. Hello and welcome to From the South. I'm Alejandra Garcia from teleSUR Studios in Havana, Cuba. We begin with the news. Stay with us. The last vessel of the Global Sumud Flotilla has been seized by Israeli commandos. The sole boat carrying aid to besiege Gaza from the flotilla has now been captured by Israeli forces off the coast of the Palestinian territory. In this context, the live stream video showed Israeli forces forcing their way on board the vessel Friday morning before the live stream was cut. The Polish-flagged Marinette, which reportedly has a crew of 6, was the last remaining operational vessel. Now, all 44 vessels that aimed to break the Israeli blockade in Gaza have been stopped and hundreds of activists detained by Israel. The streets of Italy have been the scene of intense protest over the illegal interception of the Global Sumud Flotilla and the abduction of the fleet members by military forces of the Zionist State of Israel. In Rome, around 10,000 people marched from the Colosseum in support of the Palestinian people and in protest against the crimes against the flotilla. In this scenario, USB and CGIL, two of the country's largest trade unions, called for a nationwide strike on Friday that interrupted train services and port traffic. Demonstrators marched to the Termini Central train station, while other rallies took place in Palermo, Trento, Turin and Milan, gathering thousands of people. Protesters accused the right-wing government of Giorgia Meloni of taking a position that was critical of the flotilla, in which dozens of Italians participated.
Vorrei che fosse chiaro a tutti noi, quello che stiamo facendo non è solo un atto di solidarietà.
And as we were informing, participants of the Global Sumud Flotilla have been intercepted and kidnapped by Israeli forces for daring to sail against the illegal blockade of Gaza. In this context, we invite Eduardo Meneses, political analyst specialized in Middle Eastern geopolitics. Hello, Eduardo, and welcome to From the South.
Well, thank you. Thank you very much for the invitation. Glad to be here with all of you.
Eduardo, today Israeli forces intercepted the very last boat that was continuing its journey towards the coast of Gaza out of almost 50 boats and also 500 activists. Given that all of them are currently completely cut off from communication, what risk do they face and what is expected to happen in the coming hours?
Well, we have already seen some of the kind of graphic humiliation they have been through when we saw some of the members of the government telling that there were terrorists. We saw images of them lying in the ground while people were mocking them. We really hope that there's not going to be any physical harm applied to all these activists. But there's already a huge propaganda going on in the Israeli medias and all the conservative media, like Trump, US, that are showing this idea that this was not at all something like a humanitarian initiative. It was something else. And we really need to reinforce the idea that, first of all, this flotilla was really a humanitarian. It was one of the biggest humanitarian initiatives in the modern history. We did have an act of piracy that violates all international laws, that violates all the laws that apply to a kind of humanitarian initiative like this. And that's the reason why we hope they're going to be very soon extradited. we don't know exactly how long it's going to take. The government has already said that they are not going to retain them, but there's going to be an extradition of these activists. But we can never know exactly how this is going to happen, how long it's going to be. So we really need to stay alert and also continue all the mobilizations and all the popular demonstrations that are going on all around the world to protect the lives of those who risk there, but also and mainly to continue asking the end of the genocide.
The vessels were loaded with humanitarian aid for the Palestinian people, including food, medicine, and other very much needed supplies. But what is the symbolic message that the summit was carrying and it carries itself with it? And why was it so important that it included as well prominent personalities such as Greta Thunberg and also Mandela Mandela?
Well, I think that the main message, I mean, like perseverance, which is the translation of this word in Arab, is the fact that there's a huge part of the of humanity which is not going to stop uh, raising their voices, stop making actions in each corner of the world to stop this genocide. We know that a lot of these personalities have been there because they are carrying a historical demands from activists all around the world. Those personalities have been maybe elected, have had historic background on activism, and they represent a lot of people. It's not only their names or their body that's in this flotilla, in these ships. It's thousands of people that were with them, those ships. We were all following the live stream when this happened yesterday. Uh, we are thousands of people who are raising our voices since the first day of this genocide. And now the question is, what's going to happen now? Because this, even if it's a failure in terms of the actual objective of getting this aid to the Palestinian people in Gaza, I think that the next step that's already happening, that is already taking more strength, is something like, for example, the unions in Europe, which are denouncing, in one hand, the hypocrisy of the European governments, which are saying, okay, we sent some boats, we are going to protect people, and at the end they didn't. It was mainly something, an action that they did because they feel pressure from the people in Europe. But also understanding that the next step on the pressure on boycotting and making economic pressure on all these allies of Israel is exactly what they're doing right now. It's like paralyzing all the trade dynamics that go into Europe by ships, trying to paralyze all the economic dynamics that continue to nurture this genocide in Israel. Israel could never do what this state is doing without the economic, diplomatic, military support of all these allies in Europe and in mainly the United States. So that's the next step. It's maybe the flotilla didn't get to the to Gaza and was not able to bring this aid to the people, but now it's marking a new step on escalation of all the actions that are needed to be taken to stop this genocide. And all the actions that have been taken till now have not been able to do that. So this clearly sends a message of an escalation that is needed.
Speaking of voices of action, you just mentioned that thousands of people took to the streets and have been taken to the streets worldwide in support of Palestine and also in support of those on board of the Sumud Flotilla. What does this massive support mean 2 years into the genocide in Gaza?
Well, what it means is that little by little, each corner of the world understood that what is been happening in Gaza is not only a threat to the lives of the Palestinian people; it's a threat to all of us. If we see, for example, what is going on in Ecuador, I am in Ecuador right now. What we see in the way there has been a repression and police violence military violence of demonstrators that are acting against the government for the 12th days already here in Ecuador on national strike. We see that there's a deep connection with Israeli military who has been training the police here, who have been given equipment to the police here. There's exactly the same narratives of the people here, and that's happening in every corner of the world. We see this kind of same narrative, same training, same kind of equipment that Israel is selling to governments who want to maintain um, the demonstrations against anti-popular measures by the repression and the police violence or military violence. We are seeing that the struggle in Palestine is kind of the angular piece that we all need to stop if we want to stop this to spread all over the world. And I think that the global South, uh, the countries have understood that very well, and people all over the global South are being facing the same escalations of narratives of militarization against the social demands. So this is really something. It's not a symbolic support that we're giving to Palestine. We know that Palestine is the first frontier that we need to defend if we want to defend social rights in the global South, because the same narratives, the same strategies, the same kind of economic powers are behind all the exploitation of our resources, the risks of war in all of our territories. So it is really global South people uniting in this, and hopefully we see also a lot of solidarity from some of the global North countries of people who are saying this cannot be made in our names. So that is what's going on right now. That's what is signifying. It's not only Palestine. It's really the horizons for this decades for all our peoples in the global South and in the lower classes in all of our societies.
So the struggle continues. Thank you very much, Eduardo, for your time hearing from the South.
Thank you very much for the invitation.
We were speaking to Eduardo Meneses, political analyst specialized in Middle East politics in the context of the illegal interception of the Global Sumud Flotilla. And with this exclusive interview for From the South, we have a short break coming up. But first, remember you can join us on TikTok at teleSUR English, where you'll find news in different formats, news updates, and much more. We'll be right back. Stay with us. Welcome back to From the South. Youth-led protests demanding reforms in Morocco's health and education sectors continued for a sixth consecutive day on Thursday following the death of 3 people during clashes with security forces. The demonstrations were organized primarily by a decentralized group known as GNC 212. Protesters have voiced frustration over the government's prioritization of costly preparations for the 2030 FIFA World Cup over critical public services, rallying for better schools, hospitals, and job opportunities. These protests mark one of the most significant youth movements in Morocco since the Arab Spring, fueled by widespread economic hardship and discontent with corruption and inadequate public investment. The use of social media platforms has been key in mobilizing demonstrations, reflecting a new digitally coordinated generation driving the unrest. Tens of thousands of protesters across France took to the streets on Thursday to oppose government spending cuts and demand increased funding for education, social security, and student support. Organized by unions and student groups, these demonstrations followed earlier large-scale protests in September, including the Block Everything movement and a major union-backed strike. According to the Interior Ministry, around 195,000 people participated nationwide, with about 24,000 in Paris. The protest caused disruptions in major cities, including temporary closures of roads, subway stations, and bus stops near rally sites. The unrest comes after former Prime Minister François Bayrout's austerity plan, which included scrapping 2 public holidays and cutting health insurance funding, faced strong resistance in Parliament and among the public. And we go to Argentina, where on Thursday evidence was published regarding a bank transfer linking Congressman Jose Luis Espert to money from drug trafficking. Espert, congressman and leading candidate for legislator of the country's president, Javier Milei, is increasingly compromised. A Bank of America receipt revealed that Espert, current chairman of the Congressional Finance Committee, received a transfer of $200,000 from the citizen Federico Machado, businessman with ties to the drug trafficking business and who is under investigation for laundering money. Espert had previously denied any relationship with Machado while insulting prominent figures in the opposition and asserting that he would take Argentina's candidate for the Chamber of Deputies, Juan Grabois, to court for defamation. Meanwhile, on Thursday, the Salvadoran Minister of Education, Carla Trigueros, announced that inclusive language is forbidden in all public educational centers and in the offices of the Ministry of Education, Science and Technology. The minister explained that the measure seeks to ensure the correct use of language and protect children and adolescents from ideological influences that could affect their overall development. The decision was communicated through a memorandum addressed to educational centers, establishing that the prohibition will be mandatory nationwide in educational material, contents and books. This measure is contrary to the guidelines recommended by the United Nations, which support inclusive language as a tool to ensure equality and human rights. Now we go to Bolivia, where President Luis Arce Catacora condemned the violation of Venezuelan airspace by U.S. warplanes. In his Telegram account, the president expressed, "We reiterate our solidarity with our brother President Nicolás Maduro and the brave Venezuelan people." In this regard, Arce added, "We denounce the hostile attitude of the White House towards the region and its brazen conspiracy in order to control Venezuelan oil." We have a second show break coming up. Before, we invite you to tune in tonight for a special interview with the director of the Latin American Department of the Russian Foreign Ministry, Alexander Shetinin. Join us at 8:30 p.m. Quito time, 9:30 p.m. Caracas, Havana, and New York time, only on teleSUR. Final show break. Don't go away. Welcome back to From the South. Ecuador heads into the 12th day of the general strike after the Confederation of Indigenous Nationalities decided to continue with the protest and all its demands. The organization ratified that the strike is a legitimate expression of the people and nationalities in the face of an authoritarian government. Likewise, it held firm each point of the agenda of struggle, which are among the most outstanding. First, the repeal of Decree 126, the protection of the land and ancestral territories, the reduction of the VAT and all guarantees to exercise the right to resistance, as well as a true justice of reparation for the victims. In addition, the indigenous leaders announced on Thursday night the implementation of territorial assemblies in all the provinces and communities of the country.
Resistance and solidarity with neighborhood communities, social organizations, and popular sectors, merchants, women, students, professionals, and retirees to support the movement in defense of life, democracy, and nature. We call on Ecuadorian society not to be fooled by the narratives of hate and fear promoted by those in power, and to take on the task of building a just and dignified country. We establish a humanitarian corridor at the points of resistance to guarantee the safe passage of medicines, medical supplies, and ambulances to hospitals and health centers, reaffirming that our struggle is for life and dignity and never against the people.
We stay in Ecuador. This Thursday, Interior Minister John Reinberg threatened to detain former presidential candidate Luisa González, accusing her of being an intellectual author of the indigenous strike set to reach its 12th day on Friday. Amid the social crisis facing the country, worsened by the national strike called by the Confederation of Indigenous Nationalities, the official responsible for internal security pointed to alleged intellectual authors as those responsible for generating violence. However, various sectors questioned the government's handling of the protest as the brutal repression has transformed large peaceful demonstrations into intense confrontations, which have already resulted in one death, numerous injuries and over 100 arrests. The minister assured that the intellectual authors would be imprisoned. In other topics, on Thursday, the United Nations High Commissioner for Human Rights, Volker Turk, reported that in Haiti, criminal group violence has left more than 16,000 dead in just 3 years. According to the report presented by the organization, this violence has also left more than 1.3 million people displaced, a situation never seen before, and it also referred to the plight of children subjected to all kinds of abuses and exploitation, and also foresees an even more lethal scenario if action is not taken immediately. In addition to the death, the research counts more than 7,000 wounded and warns that so far in 2025, 3,000 murders have been registered. The report questioned the lethality of the actions of both national and foreign security forces. However, it supported the sending of more troops to this Caribbean nation.
I am concerned that state law enforcement agencies have used unnecessary and disproportionate lethal force against gangs. For example, law enforcement operations account for more than half of the killings and injuries recorded so far this year.
China has activated a level 4 alert due to the imminent arrival of Typhoon Matmo on the southern coast of the country. The National Meteorological Center reported the arrival of cyclone number 21 of the season, which will reach the provinces of Guangdong and Hainan. The center alerted the provincial authorities to reinforce the protection of vessels and ensure safety in vulnerable areas. An alert was also issued by the Flood Control and Drought Relief General Staff. In this regard, President Xi Jinping emphasized the need to monitor key infrastructure during the season and to be vigilant about the distribution of rescue equipment and emergency supplies. And after this information, we have come to the end of this news brief. Remember, you can find these and many other stories on our website at telesurenglish.net. And also we invite you to join us on social media. We are on Facebook, X, Instagram, Telegram and TikTok as well. For TeleSUR English, I'm Alejandra Garcia. Thank you for watching.